Hi, my name is Desiree Valdivia, and today I'll be talking about parenthood in the 21st century, specifically how the decision to become a parent has changed, what trends we're seeing today, and the advantages and challenges that come with raising children in modern society. Parenthood is one of the most significant roles a person can take on, but it's also one of the most complex. It's no longer just seen as something people automatically do after marriage or sometime in adulthood. Today, it's much more intentional. There are a lot of factors that influence whether someone chooses to become a parent, and those factors have changed significantly over time due to social, economic, and cultural shifts. What stood out to me while researching this topic is what parenthood today is less about expectation and more about the choice. But with that choice comes a lot more pressure and complexity than in previous generations. So I'm going to talk a little bit about deciding whether to become a parent. When people decide whether or not to become parents, there are several key factors that they happen to consider. Financial stability is probably one of the biggest. Raising a child today is expensive, and that goes from child care to health care to education. Relationship status also plays a role. Some people want to wait until they're in a stable partnership, while others choose single parenthood or co-parenting arrangements. Career goals are another major factor. A lot of people now are prioritizing education and professional development before starting a family. Personally, I can relate to how much timing matters. Even in my own life, I've seen how easy it is to put things off until what we would say, quote unquote, the right time, especially when you're trying to balance work, school, and personal goals. It makes me realize that timing for something as big as parenthood is rarely simple or perfect. Social and cultural influences. We'll go a little bit into it right now. Outside of personal decisions, there are also strong social and cultural influences. For example, some cultures still place a strong expectation on having children, especially after marriage. Religion can also influence how people view parenthood and family structure. Even social media plays a big role now. People often see idealized versions of parenting online. Yeah, their matching outfits, their perfect homes, well-behaved kids. This can really create an unrealistic expectation. I've noticed this person scrolling online. I'll see all these different families, and it's so easy to forget what we see is usually just a highlight reel. It can unintentionally make people feel like they are either behind in life or maybe not ready enough to be parents. On a more individual level, emotional readiness is huge. Some people feel ready to nurture and raise a child, but others value independence and flexibility in their lifestyle. Mental health is also something more people are considering now than in previous generations. People are more aware of how stress, anxiety, and burnout could impact both the child and the parent, which is the family in a whole. For me, one thing I've learned through work, school, and volunteering is how important balance really is. Even managing a full schedule of responsibilities makes you realize how demanding parenthood would be. It's not just about wanting a child, it's about being able to show up consistently for another human being outside of yourself. In terms of trends, one of the biggest changes we're seeing is that people are having children later in life. Many individuals are prioritizing education, travel, or career advancement first. As a result, the average age of first-time parents has increased. As a personal note, my parents started very young. They were 20 when they had their first child, and you didn't see that with any of my other siblings. Specifically for me, I am in my 40s and do not have any children, and that was a personal choice. We're also seeing a rise in people choosing to remain child-free, which is much more socially visible and accepted than it used to be. Another shift is in cohabitation. More couples are living together long-term without necessarily getting married before having children. Overall, Parenthood is becoming less of a quote-unquote life requirement and more of a personal decision. Family structures have also become much more diverse. We now see more single-parent households, blended families, and co-parenting arrangements where parents are not in a romantic relationship but still raise children together. Same-sex parenting has also become more visible and accepted in society. What this shows is that there isn't just one definition of a family anymore. Families today are built in many different ways, but what matters most is stability, care, and support. Technology has also changed parenting in major ways. On one hand, it provides access to resources like parenting apps, online communities, and medical advancements such as IVF and fertility treatments. On the other hand, it also introduces new challenges, especially with social media influencing both parents and children. Personally, I think technology is one of those double-edged swords. It can make parenting more informed, but also more overwhelming because there is so much information and so many options available at all times. There are definitely advantages to parenting in the 21st century. Parents have access to more information and support than ever before. From pregnancy to adolescence, there are resources available instantly. We also see more shared parenting responsibilities between partners, which helps create more balance in the household. Healthcare for children has improved significantly, and flexible work environments are becoming more common, allowing parents to spend more time at home with the children. These are things that previous generations didn't always have access to. At the same time, parenting today comes with serious challenges. One of the biggest is the cost of living. Childcare, housing, healthcare, and education are all expensive, which can make parenting feel financially overwhelming. Work-life balance is another major challenge. Even though some jobs are more flexible now, many parents still struggle with burnout and time management. There's also the emotional side, stress, anxiety, and pressure to be what some would consider a perfect parent, especially with social media constantly showing idealized versions of family lives. And finally, there's the impact of technology on children themselves. Screen time, social media exposure, and online safety concerns. Even in my own life balancing work, school, and ministry involvement, I can see how quickly burnout can happen when responsibilities start to pile up. That experience has given me a lot of respect for what parents manage daily, because they're not just managing their own lives, they're responsible for shaping someone else's. So to conclude, parenthood in the 21st century looks very different than it did in previous generations. People have more freedom and choice, but also more complexity and pressure when making decisions about having children. There is no single right path anymore, just different paths depending on values, goals, and circumstances. What stood out most to me in researching this topic is that parenting today is less about following a traditional timeline and more about intentional decision making. Ultimately, understanding these factors help us better understand not just family life, but society as a whole. Parenting is no longer just a stage of life. It's a deeply personal choice shaped by everything from economics to identity to culture. Thank you.